Hey guys, it's dark out, so the lighting is bad. I usually have a window right there that gives me a little more lighting, but it's like 10 o'clock and I'm tired, but I need to do this because otherwise I'll never do it. So this is my May 2019 wrap up. I think I've read 8 books. So I'm gonna get into it right away. First book I read was The Half-Life of Molly Pierce by Katrina Leno. I own every single one of Katrina Leno's books, and I'm trying to get through them. I really love her. She's like one of my favorite authors ever. Summer of Salt is my all-time favorite book. I gave this 3.5, no, that's a lie. I gave this 3.75 stars. I wasn't sure on the representation of the mental illness that I will not say because I think it's kind of a spoiler. I don't know. But the representation didn't seem super authentic to me. You can definitely tell this is her first book, but it was still good-ish. It was overall kind of meh and predictable, but I still enjoyed it. And then second, I read Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I read this for school, but I had my own copy. I wanted to have my own copy, so I bought one so I could annotate and everything. I gave this 4.5 stars for its length, which is kind of short, and like half of this in the back, this big chunk in the back is like notes on historical things or something. Like, I don't know. So this is all it is. I thought it was very impactful for the length. I really liked the ideas of it. The symbolism was really interesting and it felt very real to me, like something that could happen or could have happened if the world hadn't gone a certain way, or could happen if the world keeps going the way it's going, basically. But I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite required reading books for school. Next I read In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire, which I gave 5 stars. This was I don't know if it's my favorite of the Wayward Children books, but it's one of my favorites. The writing was amazing, as always. Seanan McGuire has just such a way of making books so fun in such a short amount of space, I guess. I've always loved this series. This series really hooked me from the first book. But I was really hooked into this one particularly because I really related to the main character Lundy, as well as really thought that the world that she was transported to as a child was very interesting and something I could see myself having as a world, being the place where I would go if I was in a situation like this. But I really enjoyed this. Next I listened to Amal Unbound by Aisha Saeed, which I gave 3.5 stars. It was really interesting to be immersed in Pakistani culture. I loved it as a middle grade. I thought it was very important for maybe people who are Pakistani and maybe feel left out in the US, or if they live in Pakistan and this is how they lived. You know, it was just kind of a new cultural type thing for me that I don't experience myself as not being from Pakistan or having any family or friends that are from Pakistan. But I really loved the characters. Just what I didn't really enjoy was the plot and the writing. They were just okay. But I also don't want to judge it because middle grade is harder for me to judge, especially the plot and the writing, because it's not meant for someone my age. That doesn't mean I still can't enjoy middle grade as much as young adult. I think Furthermore and Witchwood still have amazing plot and writing that I still relate to, that I can see middle grade young readers relating to as well. So I think it just depends maybe on the content as well. Another book I read was The Body by Stephen King, which I gave 3.75 stars. This is the book that was made into the movie Stand By Me, which I've never seen, the whole thing. I've seen little bits and pieces. My parents love it. I think my brothers watched it. And I was like, if it's such a good movie, I should read the book. It was not what I was expecting. This is about some boys who like they're like 12, go looking for a dead body of a little boy, not little, a boy who's been missing for quite some time, and the whole book is just their trek to get there, and the very end is them finding him. Where I thought it would be more of like what happens after they find him and things like that, but not as much. So it was fine. I think one thing I don't like with Stephen King is the unnecessary, random inappropriateness, especially in books about 12-year-olds, like in It and The Body, which are the only two Stephen Kings I've read, but in both of them they're about a group of 12-year-old children that are friends. There are random inappropriate scenes that my brother is 12, and you know, these were different times that this book was written in, but like, I don't feel like they fit in with the book or even like how 12-year-olds think, and I know what my brother like talks about and says, and I know he can be inappropriate, but not in this extent. I just didn't feel like it's necessary, but I don't know. That could just be me. Then I read Fence Volume 1, which I gave 4.75 stars. I can't wait to read the second volume because it was like so good. It's basically a hate to love, I believe, male romance, set at like a fencing school, kind of. And right now there's like no love, it's just really like a lot of tension and hate, but I can see where it's gonna go, and I really am enjoying it. I loved the characters so much. They were like diverse and also like really well put together, and I just can't wait for the second one. It's not at any of the libraries though. So. Next I read Vengeful. I can't say that word very well. Vengeful by V.E. Schwab, which I gave 5 stars. I read this as my friend Sabrina's one of her favorite books. I said I would read one of her favorite books this month. She gave me a list. I said I've already read Vicious out of that list. Which one do you want me to read out of that list? And she said you should read the sequel Vengeful if you haven't already. And I said, okay. I think it was maybe better than Vicious. I really loved it. It's the first book of someone else's favorite that I've given a full 5 stars. I really can't wait for the third one. V.E. Schwab actually announced that she's working on a third one. Like, one of the days I was reading it, I saw on Twitter that she said that she's working on the third one, and I was like, so excited because I love this series. I love the characters. I think that V.E. Schwab is so, like, has a beautiful talent for writing, and especially, I don't think I've read any of her other books, but for these books, her talent in writing characters and morally gray characters and making you question whose side you're on is so beautiful and like mesmerizing and so much fun that I just love her. Like, I don't know her. I've only read 2 books by her, but I love her. And then the last book I read in May was The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. I gave this 4 stars. Here's the thing, with Stephen King, there's inappropriate parts. With this book, there was random inappropriate phrases as well that didn't seem to fit with the book. I don't want to give any examples because I don't like need to be inappropriate on this channel, but there were times when it would be talking about the family and then it would say something sexual about the parents and things like that, and it just like, I get like that there are sexual things, but going into that extent in a young adult book that is focused on a teenager, like, why is she telling? She's telling about her family when she's older, and she's telling all of a sudden about her great-grandparents' sexual life, like sex life? Like, I don't want to know that. Like, I don't feel like it's necessary. I felt really uncomfortable. And like, I'm not someone who gets uncomfortable by sexual things in books, really, or sexual remarks, but when they feel very out of place, it makes me feel awkward and weird. everyone says they love this like prose like writing in this book, but I thought it was kind of meh. I wasn't like huge on it, but I didn't hate it either. But I loved the characters and the family dynamic and kind of how you go through the generations and all these things are like kind of different with all these people. It's magical realism about a girl named Ava Lavender who was born with bird wings basically. And it's really heartbreaking at times and really beautiful at other times. But there were just, some of it was meh, some of it was wonderful. So I ended up giving it 4 stars. Those are all the books I read in May. I hope to read a lot of books in June with the readathon I will be participating in. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a marvelous day, evening, night, or morning. Bye!